What's up, y'all? I'm back for another video. Um, we're here to continue on with the Rocky franchise. So, before I get started on this review, I'm going to give a quick what I'm going to be doing the next few days. Tomorrow, I will be reviewing Rocky 4. Like I mentioned yesterday, I was going to wait till the director's cut came out, but I don't know if that's playing in a theater near me, so I'll just review it separately. So you just fuck it, because I'm gonna see how much different. And I probably won't go through like the plot again. I'll probably just mainly, if I do review it, I'll just probably review like what was different. But other than that, um, Rocky 4 tomorrow. I'm also gonna go in on a bitch ass Colin Kaepernick tomorrow morning, because the fact that he compared slavery to the NFL, or specifically the NFL Combine, and this is gonna I'm gonna mention here, I'm not an NFL fan. I've watched it with my dad when I was younger, you know, but that's just stupid. So I'm gonna go in on that tomorrow. But and then Friday we'll finally do my Michael Myers ranking. I understand it's a little bit past Halloween, but I wanted to get some of the Rockies out there. But speaking of Rocky, we're on Rocky 3. So I rewatched this earlier today. This film came out in '82, so it came out about 3 years after the second one. Mr. T as Clubber Lang, Rocky now is like an established champion, and now he has this new up and comer. Or it's not up and comer, but he gets challenged by Clubber Lang, played by Mr. T, who, let's be honest, he was playing Mr. T in this movie, and it works. It works for sure. Hulk, you had a cool Hulk Hogan cameo as Thunder Lips, and this Mickey dies in this one, which is pretty sad. Um, and the fight in it's pretty good. I overall like this movie. I don't think it's as good as the first two, and definitely not as good as the fourth one. But I do like this one, and I think the fight in it's good. You have two fights. You know, obviously the one where Rocky loses, and then Rocky gets his win back. But all around, I love this film. I love the training montages. We had Eye of the Tiger, um, by Survivor as the main like theme of the movie. It's the theme in general of the movie is Eye of the Tiger. So not just the song either. Um, but yeah, I really like this film. It was cool, seeing it because some of the scenes are shot in L.A. Like there's a part of the film that was shot in Los Angeles, which is pretty interesting. I like because most of the time, especially up until this point in the film in the franchise, Rocky has been all in Philadelphia, especially the first two. So it was kind of cool to see it leave in another state, and obviously the fourth one it goes to Russia. So, but all around, this film is great. Definitely is gonna be fun reviewing this one. So let's kick it off. So, movie kicks off kind of like Rocky 2, where it kicks off the events from the first one. Rocky 3 does the same thing, where we get a recap of the fight. Granted, it's much. I'll admit in this one, though, it was done better, where they kind of sped it up, obviously. And they took it from the moment where basically Rocky was winning. So Rocky gets the big win. Then the film now, in timeline wise, is set in 1981. Rocky has a bunch of title defenses, and I didn't remember this. I love how like um, Clubber is like in the audience for his fights, like for his all his title defenses, and Rocky was going through the guys. And then we get a little bit of Clubber training, which was pretty cool. And not training, but we see him like beat guys to eventually become number one contender. While this happens, Rocky, now his son's a lot older now. not a lot older, but like, a couple of years older compared to the second one when he was born. Um, and I really love that in this one. There's no like plot line. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Rocky too, but I really like that in this one they don't. They're not. What I will always give the Rocky movies. Each film does something different with Adrian. Like this time around, she was all around supporting Rocky. She wasn't like, oh no, don't fight. No, she was with him the whole time. I could love it in this one. And I love how Rocky he's basically a celebrity now. You know, the place where he's training, there's like a bunch of Rocky merch, and you get a little. Granted, it's a very quick storyline where Paulie slowly, while Rocky, is having these strong title defenses, is getting a bit jealous of Rocky, and he's bitter that, oh, Rocky, why didn't you hire me? So we have a scene where he smashes because he goes to like like an arcade because he knows it's 1982, so or 1981 in the film, but and because he sees a Rocky like pinball machine, he smashes that, and goes to jail. Rocky bails him out. You get this really good scene between the two of them, and I love Paulie. He's a nice little kind of funny entertainment. Like he's the kind of the comedic character, but they don't overdo it. Like I said, back then, they knew how to like when you do have a comedic character, they knew how to like balance him and not overdo it. So that happens, then, um, like I mentioned, Clubber becomes the number one contender. There's even a scene where he calls out Mickey, and Rocky gets the statue, which is a pretty cool little scene. As you can tell, like Rocky's kind of comfortable with it. So he gets the statue and he gets named like, uh, and he's about to announce his retirement after being named like, I think Philadelphia's prodigal son. Then before he's about to retire, Mr. Clubber, because you could kind of, he basically was just Mr. T in this, and it works. We get this really good scene where he calls out Rocky publicly and, calling out his manhood. I will say, Clubber is a good fucking heel. He's a fucking great heel in this. The shit talking is great. He even fucking, basically hits on, Adrian. That pissed Rocky off, and you can tell Mickey does not want to have Rocky fight him. So Rocky takes the fight, but Mickey initially is like, I'm not gonna fight this guy with you. Basically, go with Mickey doesn't want to go with Rocky to the fight because Mickey knows that because he saw him firsthand. He's basically saying this guy's a killer. You don't have that killer instinct anymore. And they even kind of showcase that in the training. Difference is like when Rocky finally convinces Mickey to train him, and he basically says this is his last fight. So they train for Mickey. Even the difference, Rocky's training at this place, and they're like playing his theme. It's like there's people asking for autographs while Rocky's training, while fucking Clubber's just training like hard. So they almost were like visually. That's like what movies were back then. They were supposed to be a visual. So they kind of wanted to show you that Rocky's kind of lost his edge. While he's training, he's taking pictures. He's signing autographs and stuff. And I think like they wanted to show that. And I think they did a really good job of showing that. So we get to the fight, and Apollo's there as like a I think he's like a commentator. And before the fight, while Rocky and Mickey are heading to the ring, Clubber antagonizes like a whole little kerfuffle. I'm not gonna say that word. Just causes a big, almost brawl, basically. Pushes Mickey on the way, and Mickey basically ends up injuring himself. Mickey ends up suffering a heart attack, but he still like convinces Rocky to go fight, and this is where our first Rocky Clubber fight, and it was one-sided. Clubber beat him very early on. I think it was like round two, and he basically but Lang he tries to knock him out, but Lang ends up knocking Rocky out. It was a pretty good fight. It was very quick though, and Lang ends up winning the fight. So Rocky then goes to see Mickey, and then Mickey says like a last few words. He says, I love you, kid," at that Mickey voice, and he dies. This scene is actually really fucking sad, and like I mentioned in my other reviews so far between Rocky 1, 2, and now this one, Mickey is such a big part of these movies. Like I said, I love Rocky 4. Rocky 4 is my favorite. But that Mickey element, sorry if you hear that, that Mickey element is fucking missing. And it sucks. And it works for the story, though. Rocky got to at least see him, and it was a very emotional death. So then, you have the moment of him driving on his motorcycle he bought earlier in the movie, where he's kind of driving. He throws his helmet at the his statue, then goes back to the gym, and this is where Apollo makes a proposal and says he'll train him for the rematch with Clubber. Obviously Rocky's initially reluctant, but Apollo manages to convince him. And he basically was telling Rocky that you're missing the eye of the tiger. You're missing the eye of the tiger, and you don't have that edge anymore. Because Apollo even mentions you had that look in your eye when he fought him, but he doesn't have it anymore. So Rocky agrees, and basically he takes Adrian and Paulie to L.A. to train with Apollo, kind of take him back to his roots in a way, and Rocky is just, initially the training, he's not doing it right, because Apollo's trying to train him on speed, and basically kind of make him like Apollo, train him with finesse, and, even swimming, because he has to move fast, and obviously Rocky initially isn't doing great, because he hasn't fully come to terms with Mickey's death, and he has nightmares about him being knocked out, so he's just not into it. And then Adrian obviously finally convinces him. Then we cue the Rocky music. He starts training. You get the iconic running scene between the two of them. Very 80s, but I love it. And like I said, I love how it's come full circle with him and Apollo. They were rivals in the first two movies, and now they're cool. They're friends, essentially. And, he's helping him train to get the big win back. And we see Rocky's learning, Apollo's teaching him how to be faster in the ring. He's teaching him that now, and he's getting better at it. Then, basically, we're at the big fight, and the final fight of the movie. And basically Apollo just wants one favor from Rocky, and I'll get to that favor later. The rematch is at Madison Square Garden, and Apollo basically asks Rocky to wear Apollo's the shorts he wore for his fight with Rocky the first time, these American flag shorts, and he asked Rocky to wear them. It's such a good scene, just because of how far these two have gone. And that's one thing I love about these movies, is just how the character development in the three movies is so good. Then we get the final fight. You obviously get the iconic scene. The media is asking Clubber about what his prediction for the iconic prediction, pain. And then we get the moment where he says, "I pity the fool," and it was perfect, because he was basically saying, "I pity Rocky," and it was such a perfect way to get him to say, "I pity the fool." It's fucking perfect. So then we get the fight. He says "fool" again. Kind of starts a little bit of a brawl with Apollo. Then the fight gets started, and Rocky just starts off swinging like fucking Clubber was not expecting it. This fight is great. because like Rocky's like much quicker now. Because even in like the second fight, he's not as skilled. You know, he's definitely more skilled compared to the first one. But you know, I love the development of Rocky's boxing skills. I'm not the biggest boxing fan, but just watching Rocky, like I mentioned, the growth of these characters, obviously the physical growth, but just the development. Like this is what storytelling was. But anyway, we get a really good fight. It goes for I'm trying to remember how many rounds it goes for. And eventually Lang starts getting the upper hand, and basically Rocky starts becoming a punching bag. But Rocky's strategy is he's gonna basically tire him out. He's just gonna tire him out. He's even like talking shit like, "You're gonna knock me out, and it's like not knocking him out. And like there's those moments where they slow down like not the camera, but like the audio, and is making like I think they do a really good job in those scenes because they're trying to make it seem like how hard like Clubber's hitting you. They're making it like, man, you're actually getting hit by this dude. You know, Lang by the third round is just tired, so Rocky just comes in and dominates and gets the big win, wins the title back, and we get a quick little scene. Oh, before I go to that scene, the fight was great. I love this final fight. It was especially because it was great to see Rocky finally get his win back. Because I think this film is great because it also shows how Rocky, lost. This was his big loss, and it works because he lost the edge and he gained his edge back. And to finally see Mr. Glover get his in the end, he was a great antagonist. He definitely works. Ivan Drago is my favorite overall, but I really do think Glover works. He's such a good, asshole heel. He works as a heel character. Oh, I fucking skipped over Hulk Hogan's cameo. Let me go do that real quick. There's a charity wrestling match between him and Hulk Hogan. And it was a fun little scene. It was kind of cool to see Hulk Hogan do, body slams on fucking Rocky. And Rocky eventually gains the win. And then you even see Hogan break character in the end, because that's how it was back then. This was when WWF wasn't fully a company yet, but just in general, there was kayfabe still. There was no breaking it, so it was kind of cool to see that in this movie. And Hulk Hogan was on the rise by this point, so it was cool to see him in a quick little cameo. So the film ends with Rocky and Apollo go back to the gym and are in their boxing gloves. And Apollo's favorite, he wants a private rematch between the two. They kind of talk a little banter back and forth. I really liked their dynamic. It was cool seeing them come full circle from the first two movies. Then, they punch each other and then cue Eye of the Tiger. I love this film. This film is great. It's not my favorite if I had to, of the main four, if I were just talking about because a lot of people's eyes, the first four Rockies are the best ones, and then maybe you can throw in Creed, which we'll get to. But the main four are, a lot of people's top four. It's not my favorite of the four, but it's still a good one. I really think Clubber's a great antagonist. He's a great heel. I like the little story between him and Adrian. Any of the little moments in any of these movies are just all great. I like the little Paulie storyline. His Rocky and Apollo becoming cool is just awesome to see. Like I said, Carl Weathers plays this character great, man. That's why it's going to be tragic when he dies in the next one. Yeah. I fucking love I love Carl Weathers. I love this, just all around love this movie. Like I said, these movies are an example of, the human, spirit, going great. Just all of them do, these, especially these first four really showcase it. It makes, it just even pumps me up when Rocky gets the win in the end. I'm, cheering on like I'm watching an actual fight. I'm like, get him, right. I fucking love these movies, so. If I had to rate this one out of 10, I'd give it, a 9. A solid 9. I like this film. The soundtrack's great. I fucking love Eye of the Tiger. I can listen to that anytime. But tomorrow's gonna be fun because I cannot wait till we get to Rocky 4. That is my favorite one. Objectively, the first one, like I mentioned, and maybe even the second one are probably better. You can make an argument they're better made movies, but Rocky 4 to me just is my favorite fight. Apollo's death, Drago's a great villain. The soundtrack is fucking badass. So we're gonna definitely be talking about that. And I mean, don't be wrong, the soundtrack in this is great, but like just everything about Rocky 4 just hits. So that'll be tomorrow, and I'm also gonna go in on bitch ass Colin Kaepernick, so we'll be talking about that tomorrow. But other than that, fuck Warner Brothers, fuck Disney, fuck La Bitch James, fuck Kevin Smith, fuck Colin Kaepernick, and fuck Joe Biden. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace!